Buy, deliver with the two-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester, Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chasing the Racing.
3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasing the Racing, episode 83. And I'm hoping this is going to go out on about Christmas Day. So if it does,
Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Grand now.
We're joined by...
Nice old... Yeah, tell you what, let's start this off.
Let's get cracking.
Yeah, come on, let's have a bit of a do. So the red one.
So how are we go? How are we doing?
I'll tell you what, let's do it that way, look. There we go.
Oh, Jesus.
Hold
on, what's going on? You can... God, it's
Look
good
at
we can
this,
ride
ready?
bikes.
Ready?
1, 2, 3.
1.
Hang on, I
only
ended up with nothing. What's going on here?
You can
As usual.
You can tell you own a race team. He's got nothing. He's got nothing. And I literally look like I've got a bowl full of vajazzle in my drink now. So this is not going well. This is going well. So from one cracker to another, who have we got on the show this afternoon, Chris? Afternoon, evening, whatever time it is.
So welcome to the podcast.
Podcast.
Brent Gladwin, the team manager of GR Motorsport. And what we're saying, Brent, will the news be out by now?
I think I was about to say we normally go in this uncouth and everything unorganised, but let's talk in the future here, right? The news is out.
Well, I'm just checking with
Hang
the
on,
boss.
let's do it. Back to the future.
Hold on, I was about to say, this is your news, Brett. This is your news. I think it's rude of us to take your moment. So what is the future here?
The future is very, very easy. You know, it's coming up to Christmas. We wanted a bit of a laugh. I needed to learn another language. Brody kind of fitted in with it. Can you learn Yorkshire? I'm not sure. We had a few bullies around us, and somehow I met Chrissy.
There we go then. And what is the exciting news then?
Well, he's got that little gold number 1, hasn't he?
What's that?
He's kind of a funny number. Something you'll aspire to one day, don't you?
Oh, a man can dream. A man can dream.
So no, it's absolutely our pleasure to have done an agreement with that young fella in the corner to ride the Superstock bike in 2021 and aspirations to be alongside Storm in 22 on the big fat slick tired thing.
Oh, fantastic. Well, congratulations, the pair of you.
Thank you very much.
But I tell you what, well, before we get into that subject, I think that's really towards the back end of this interview. Let's go back to, quite frankly, who the fuck you are. Let's
I will just say, Brent, we'll just watch our camera because that's the camera.
That's the money shot. That's the money shot. There you go.
But yeah, I came down obviously a few weeks ago, and it's almost like a little bit of a history lesson looking around the workshop and all the, obviously there was it was celebrated 25 years of GR Motorsport. Was it last year?
Yeah, this year, 2020.
Yeah, and 25 years of running a race team. You must. I'm surprised you've got any hair left.
Well, to be honest, the medication's working, but it's not doing a right good job. That U-bald-headed bastard hair restoral cream springs to mind.
Right, I think that's another story that we really can't. We've just been informed in on that history lesson, but I don't think you can really say that on this pod. And we have no real boundaries, and that says a lot about this interview. So there we go.
But you used to before the race team was going. You used to race back in the day, didn't you?
Yeah, that's how Jeff and I met. We were wayward boys with motorcycles. I've had bikes forever, and started racing when the local Judge James Pickles took pity on society and banned me off the road. And it was like,
was that speeding on bikes or cars?
Pickles.
He's honestly
There's a judge called Pickles. He got picked on, didn't he? He went, I'm going to be a judge one day.
Yeah, I think that's what happened because he was one nasty mofo, and he banned me off the road. And the next job was, what do we do? And I ended up going to Chris Wilshaw Race School at Alton Park, which is why it's one of my favourite tracks. And then we went to Cabell Park and did a production race on my 404. And it was a mechanical start, and all the boys on their LCs and body 400s were kicking away, and I went, ring, gone. So I won my first race, and the addiction started.
There we are.
What year was that?
Oh, well, I think it was 2001. No, it was in the 70s, late 70s, yeah. I left school in the summer of 76 and FS1E time and things like that.
I tell you what, in terms of, when you go to people's houses and you get, sometimes you just need a quick whiz or whatever, and you go to the downstairs toilet and there might be like one picture of like an old race thing or things. You want to go for a slash in this house, because in the downstairs toilet, it's basically just like sort of random news cuttings and pictures from over the last, what would you say, 40 years?
Yeah, easily.
Right, contracts. So, signed contracts from like 30 years ago when you were riding.
Yeah.
And then...
just to piss the riders off. Yeah, the back in the day.
But obviously it was a totally different sort of feel to racing back then, all the production racing and kind of the days of riding to the track. And then we've had loads of guests on recently of that sort of era, but we're talking like Larry Carter and all the old race tracks around the sort of northeast of England that don't even exist anymore. Did you used to race it? Was it Euston?
Euston and Melbourne. Mind you, sorry for interrupting here. I genuinely thought you were going to talk about his stunning daughter for a second there. I was generally crap my pants there. I was generally like that going, you want to walk into his living room? I'm going looking at you, Chrissy, going, where are you going with this? So obviously we've tipped up on your boss's new drive. We've turned up like that, started plugging electric, and we just looked through the corner and going, who's that blonde in the bling? Who's this blonde in the thing like that? Come on, I go, that's me too. I'm like, right, well, let's just keep our heads down, talk about podcasting and nothing else.
The easy description for that, Dom, is easy. For the safety of the riders, I actually kept her away from the paddock.
Totally understandable, and may long that continue. There it goes. But well done, Chrissy. I generally thought we were going to open that can of worms, but you know what? It's my job to do that. So there we go.
I'll get her to bring some tea.
Not a chance for working here. We're working. It's a working environment. There you go. Can't be distracted at such things like that, Brett.
And I tell you one thing I learned about when I came down the other day was I didn't realise you did the roads and the TT and sort of history. And you telling us about racing over in America, Daytona, Bon Pole, Daytona.
Well, back in the day, we just loaded a van up with no sat nav and disappeared. And as no mobile phones, so your mum never knew where the hell you were. And it were great times. In reality, I know you've had Jeff on and he's talked about his side of things, but they were fantastic times because nothing was impossible, but everything was hideously impossible. We sat in Sheffield and I know all the people are dead, but I used to steal diesel out of the dustbin wagons, to go racing.
Apparently, you still do that now to run that Arctic of yours.
Well, to be fair, we just have the bin wagons back up. It's dead easy now.
There's some cash, lads. Empty it out. Get on with it.
And we knocked about with a group of people that were famous, infamous, and we just did absolute lunacy things. Because of the time, now we go sat nav and you say, send us your postcode. They were none of that shit. It was like, and also if you got a Michelin rated map, you might find your way there, and then you rocked up at borders across Europe, and you might be sat there 3 days waiting for your carnet to be stamped, and the guys, blooming Dave Wollums, Mick Seward, Ray Hutchinson from up your way, blooming Andy McGladdery, Joey Dunlop, Robert, blooming Paul Hidden, Christian's dad, blooming Rog Marshall, who's still as lunatic as he was then. And
he's been one of those guests that everyone repeats, don't they? They say you need to get Roger on. You need to get Roger on. Are you very much behind that idea?
I tell you what, our Roger, as he's known to us, he is some of the best value ever, because he's still, like we all are, boys at heart. His knowledge is incredible, and as you know, Chrissy, he helps Joe Francis and things, but he's a fucking lunatic. And
you've got to embellish on that. Like, all our listeners will be going like this, going, well, come on.
Roger's job at BSB is it to do with the judging like harsh moves? So
we had a bit of it this year with Danny Sayers,
really?
Because Danny made a move that was bit it could have gone wrong, and it went wrong in a lot of ways. And they judged him on it and gave him some points.
Right.
And so what they do is they do overview it with everything in mind, that they're looking at it from the crowd perspective, the rider injury perspective, the rider nutter perspective, the whole part of it, because we live in a dangerous world, and it can easily get out of control, a bit like if my daughter walked in here now, to get well out of control. so
Good man.
What was the move Danny got? I wasn't aware of that.
he shot up the inside at turn 1 at Silverstone, and he just went a bit late, and there was nowhere for him to go, so he sideswiped Lado, and they both went down, and they were knocked about a bit, but luckily nobody was hurt. And they, Roger had us up there with the guys, and they talked it through with Danny, who was struggling with English, and so do I. And they were brilliant. I mean, they handed him a penalty, but they were brilliant with him. So Rog looks at it from BSB, from rider, and then he combines the pair and goes safety, because there's the rest of the grid.
Yeah.
And he's brilliant. Now, I'd like to see him do it with half a bottle of wine down him. I think that'd be awesome. Because
there's a challenge. If you're listening, Roger, let's set this up. There we go.
So, and back to your career, your riding career. Were you racing in the equivalent of the British Championship, or did you do World Championship, or?
I did the British, but I couldn't really afford to do it.
Right.
So where I did well, as in earning a few quid, as I did the roads. And for you, Dom, today, from 1990, I still hold the lap record at Mete. So that means one of the following 3 things. 1, I was fucking fast. 2,
You definitely put it on the top there, did it straight away. It's 1, Dominic. If you're going to look at me, that's 1 of 3 things. Look me in the eye and tell me it's number 1. I am that fast.
No. 2, the timekeepers were drunk.
Okay, I can see where you started with number 1 there.
Yeah. All 3, they changed the track. So there you go.
All 3, it doesn't matter. You're on top. Doesn't matter. You're on top, son. That's the main thing. So there we go. But like Chrissy says, so you went for the prize money. So let's put a timeline together. What age were you when you got banned?
I started riding on the road when I was 11. I think I was banned by 12. No, I got...
Shut up, man. I genuinely believed him there. I was like, that. Only in Sheffield. There you go.
No, I was banned when I was 18, 19.
18, 19, and then went, right, we're going to have a go at racing.
Well, it was kind of... Everybody had motorbikes then.
Yes.
Like today, everybody's got cars. We all left school with motorbikes. It was what we did. And then if you haven't got a motorbike, what are you blooming going to do? And then when all your mates are dicking around and you can't go out with them, well, it's better to be big dick, innit? So go racing. They've all got to come and watch you race. So
how many years did you do on the short circuits before you made the step to roads?
I did a couple of years on the short circuits, but it was kind of the club scene, Darlingmore, Cabell Park, all the East Midlands clubs, all the stuff that you guys have done when you've come through. And then we got into this thing where, should we, could we? And somebody local in Sheffield said, we're going to Oliver's Mount. Do you want to go and race there? Never seen it. Yeah, I'll go there. So
Yorkshireman, the Yorkshire track. This has got to work.
Perfect, yeah. Turned up and I went, where's track then? Well, it was, for me, it was easy because it was just like going around High Hazels Park. So it was brilliant,
Footpath racing, off you go, son. There you are.
And I met up with Mez Mellor, and who became a lifelong friend. And we had, at that point, I'd transitioned from, so I had the 404, and that's when I was involved with a little bit with, I had a golden opportunity that I messed up with Luke Schutz that was just up the road. So Phil Odlin, I've just got, Phil finished second in the World Championships, Formula 2 on Luke Schutz Honda. And they were made in Sheffield. And they were 404s. And about 2-3 years ago, as you know, I'm always collecting bikes and fanning about this kind of thing. I was in a garage in nowhere, and what do I see there but Phil's bike? So I rung him up. There's your bike here. Do you want it or what? And Phil's just finished restoring it now. But I had the chance to ride that bike, and I rode it, And I ran out of money. We know the story. So I bought a bloody £749 RD400. And Mr. Shoot didn't like it because it was a 2-stroke. So that was that. And so we did the RD400s. That were great. My brother actually got run over on the road, smashed his elbow to pieces, and used his insurance money to buy us both an RD400.
That's a proper blow, that, isn't it? You know, it takes dedication in this game when you just go, he's an insurance claim, mint.
Especially as he'd actually been run over to get it. Anybody else would have faked it.
That's it. I know I've just noticed we're on a main road here, Chrissy, so if I go missing for 10 minutes and you hear a loud bong, just give it 20 minutes and come and fetch us.
And what you haven't noticed is a graveyard over the road, so again,
it's convenient.
It comes back to my daughter issues, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I put it this way, I'm glad we're in a little box. Locked in.
So I transitioned quite quickly to a little TZ250D that I bought off Pete Wilde's dad, Charlie. And we did that. And TZ250, TZ350 Yamahas, and then we went to Scarborough. Well, I just had a brilliant weekend. One of them weekends, apart from frying clutches, and I just thought, I don't know what it is about being in mid-air on a motorbike that's not supposed to be in mid-air, but I really like this. And then I started to try to... Every race back then, it's the same as now, but it was actually more expensive then. And...
more expensive in real terms type of thing?
Yes. Yeah, so quantify that, Brent, lad. Right, down the road from here. So you go out my gate, down the road, and there's some terraced houses. They're lovely. You know, where wood seats is. They're lovely terraced houses. In 1982, you could have bought one for £2,000. Fully family up, jobs a minter. An RG 500 Mark 7 was 19 grand.
Bloody Norris. So that house now, are you talking
200,
about
220?
200 grand? Bloody hell. So if you think of it as a factor, the bike would be like ridiculous.
And in the late 70s, and we laugh about it now because of nostalgia, but in the late 70s, a brand new TZ350, which everybody, me included, I mean, you've seen the toys in there, they were £2,400 including the spares kit, when a policeman's wages was 2,400 quid for a year, not for a month. So, and apprentices were on 13 quid, but we still did exactly the same as you guys do. You know, we did, but there wasn't the commercial partners then. There wasn't. So your mate's local fish and chip shop might help you, or, you know, these kind of things. But the bike shops and the manufacturers were making money, so they'd help you a bit. So like Charlie Freeman's motorcycles in Sheffield, or Bentley's motorcycles, and the guys who went on to own Rainbow Motorcycles, Sean and Lorna, they all helped because they were selling a lot of motorbikes.
Yeah.
To quantify that, I think in 1980, I understand, I might be wrong here, there was about 30,000 LC 250, 350 sold. And if you look at figures now...
Yeah, like across all brands, all bikes, everything, you wouldn't know.
I think at the moment, a good monthly sale for a manufacturer at this time of year might be 500 units. Obviously, there are a lot of different in the price. But still, when you compare 30,000 to 500, that is phenomenal. And then, of course, when you're selling 30,000 motorbikes, you're selling 60,000 tyres and chains and brake pads and
helmets,
leather jackets. So they got a few quid to spend. And now the manufacturers, as much as they're willing or not willing, but I genuinely think most of them have got that willing to go racing, they don't have that level of profit to throw at all racing categories. Mm. I don't mean no racing categories, I mean all of them. So now that's why we have to look for commercial partners, which I'm not so bad at.
There we are.
So getting up to have sort of going road racing, because racing at, say, British level wasn't really covering its costs, or it was costing you to do, so you went road racing. And was that a case of, did you just like do the TT Northwest, the sort of main nationals, or did you do Irish road racing? Or?
It was it was bonkers because you didn't make a plan. It was kind of, you wake up on a Tuesday and go, what we're doing this weekend? Let's go to Carrador. It was that mad. And if I raced in Ireland when the Troubles were there. And it was,
Imagine you getting off and getting riding to Belfast like that. Hello, lads, what's the crack here?
Yeah.
That's it.
Hey, Dom, I've got a sign in my garage that I actually stole out of the Maze prison. Trust me.
I tell you what, some people hold a grudge, someone will be out to get you for that.
Oh, no. It's back then in Ireland, what was fantastic is the Troubles, you could easily get caught up in it, but generally speaking, the racing gave that respite. It was your neutral ground.
Yes.
And as passion as we all know today, just because of whatever their thoughts are religion-wise, the passion across everybody, across the world, didn't matter colour, creed or whatever, there's a passion for bikes. Well, in Ireland back then, it was just nuts.
Did you ever get caught up in the Troubles or any sort of dodgy situations or anything?
Yeah, we did.
He's going around nicking diesel. He's you know what I mean? He's going to be banging to it, isn't he?
Go on.
We were sat in a pub one day, not so far from the Ulster Grand Prix, when there'd been a bit of bother, and somebody come running in the pub and shouted something in Irish. Well, as you've already learned, I can't speak English, so we're all sat around, and next minute all the windows came in and somebody decided they didn't like a car in the street, so instead of just towing it off, they blew it up. But that was basically the only thing. But maybe we shouldn't have been there. I don't know. But
and what about the TT then? Did you how many years did you do the TT for?
I went there in '83 for the newcomers, for the Manx, and I was so lucky in a lot of ways, but also I was tortured. I was lucky because I went there with Frank Fox, who lives in the island. He's an ex-lad from Sheffield, and he wrote a book all about travelling around Europe in the 50s. But he introduced me to Jeff Duke, and at this time I'd known Phil for a little while, Phil Mettler. And so we went there, and I had Barry Sheen's TZ500 Yamaha that I bought off him. Got Pete Wiles' dad Derek and Fat Whack mechanics looking after us, and we went, and what was the privilege, and today it's such a stupid thing, but the privilege was that Frank Fox said, I've got you a garage sorted out. What do I need a garage for? For your bikes. And all that. Cool, yeah. So bottom of Braille, we pulls up with van, gets out of the van, who's sharing garages with us, but Joey and Robert Dunlop.
Dear.
So it was Robert's first year. So he won the 350 newcomers, and I finished second in the 500 newcomers, all out of that poxy garage, and which is still there and still used at the TT for riders. And some of the things that we did that fortnight were incredible.
I feel like we're going to miss a huge moment here. I'm actually lost for words. It's a bit like there must be a million questions. All our listeners must be going, ask this, ask that. And it's a bit like, first of all, what were they like? What was that like? The whole situation? That must have been, hello lads, you all right? And was it?
Yeah, because I was as daft then as I am now. So it didn't matter. I just walked in, right boys, how are we? And Joey was lovely, very quiet. Robert was more, he was like me, shitting his pants going, what we doing? And in a lot of ways, Joey was like our big brother, but weren't mine. And little things like he'd come up to your bike and go, you need to fasten that on a bit better. There's no wrong with that, is there? You need to fasten that on a bit better. What are you on about? I can't get it on any tighter.
Get out the way.
Yeah. Oof. And I went round in the car with him, and I was with me with this other lad, Whack, and we got this bit of a saying that still stands today, and we can relate it to you guys, where they were going along and they're in the front of the car and I'm in the middle like this, and I'm listening to everything Joey's saying, and I kept turning around to my mate. We, again, can't speak English, so no chance with paddies. Turns around to my mate, I says, what are you saying? He went, fucks if I know. So now we use that, like with Danny Sayers last year. Mechanic could turn around to me and go, what did he say? Fucked if I know.
Just crack on.
And they took us round a million times, and it was brilliant. But I think the thing with Mez, that finished my career. So my career at the island started and finished in 1983. I didn't know it had finished, but it had finished in
Your
1983.
newcomers year was your last year.
No, I went there until 1989.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But should I? Right. So, as most people know, Mez was a dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
And when we in '83, he nearly got me birched, along with
Birched.
Yeah, as in,
Birch. Oh, here we go.
You
This
know
is Sheffield terminology. Go on then.
No,
Birched.
No, Dom, look it up. If you get in trouble in Isle of Man,
I'm a tree surgeon. Birched is old on the coppers.
they get a big stick and bend you over and whack you.
I didn't know the bend over bit, so I'm never back answering a copper.
No, only in the Isle of Man.
All right, Brett. No wonder you smile a lot, son. Sorry.
No, in the Isle of Man, one of the capital punishments was that if you went too far with anything, they birched you, which basically meant local copper went to Birch Street, pulled a few branches off, tied them together, pulled leaves off it, bent you over and give it you on a Saturday in front of football crowd. You know, proper. You're not like Isle of Man. You've been there a few times.
They don't have coronavirus, no crime, nothing. Good old birching. There we go. So
No, back in the day, that was the thing.
There we go.
I just could not remember the peeling points because half the time I was fighting this bloody bike. And so they came up with this cunning plan that we'd get some bulldozer yellow paint, and every peeling point I'd paint a big yellow blob on the tree for 37 miles. And then, of course, there was a vandalism call on the Isle of Man News, and the finger went
straight on you, son.
and I got arrested, and it was Birchville, Indiana. I was getting it, and if it hadn't been for Jeff, not Krusty, the other one, I was in for torture, and they made us go round and clean it off. And then, but Mez, in the last few days, so when you go, do you go to the ferry bridge? So why do you go to the ferry bridge?
Well, you know, the thing with me, like that ferry bridge, it's I've never actually stepped off and actually gone over the bridge myself. It's we always cross over it to go to the southern and you know hello Fairies, that thing. And
So you've never stopped?
I have personally never. That is the honest truth, and I know it's always a homage that every rider should do that. But we, like, my dad raced bikes and we've never done it, but we know the fable tale of why you say hello and everything. So
Well, what you're saying is you believe in you might not be religious, but you believe in synergies and things like that, you know, because it don't matter whether we're religious or not, we believe in something.
yeah.
And
Can I just interject at that point? The first time I went to the island, I got a bus from the Southern 100 to the things, and on the bus it says, "You're coming up to Ferry Bridge, remember to say it."
Yeah.
And then as you go over the bus, Tannoy goes, "Hello, Fairies."
yeah,
Can you just explain what it actually means? Because I'm not 100%. I know it's a tradition on the Isle of Man, but I'm not 100% sure
it's
what.
basically a tradition that those guys are there to look after you, and you know, and drunken people have allegedly pulled up in a Volvo estate, climbed out and gone under the bridge to see if they're actually under there. Now, it's only a rumour. I can't confirm such activity, but it was something to do with the Southern 100 and celebrations, and that wasn't driving the Volvo. But anyway, that's another story. And I think it's one of those things that in a little mysterious island like that, there's all these things, just quirky things. Mm-hmm. And even now, if I went there, I'd do it. Mm-hmm. And people who have nothing to do with bikes do it. It's and woe betide you if you don't. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I don't know anybody who's dared not.
You know, you're 100% right. I don't think there is anyone that hasn't dared to do it. It's such an intoxicating place anyway, the Isle of Man. But especially when you're racing, or more importantly, people go there to support people there, and you just think no one's taking the bloody chance. Any religion, nothing. It's like, if you don't believe in fairies or nothing, you get there, you can.
That's it. You know, wait, boys, how are you?
Yeah. Hello, son. You all right? You just stay there. Never. What you talking at, Dad? Shut up and say hello.
You want a steak sandwich?
That's it.
And so anyway, as we came towards the race, I still couldn't get it right, and Mez took us round in the car, me and a couple of other lads, and we pulled up at Ballig Bridge and set off walking, and he was saying, "Look, Doran's Bend, this is the bit this is where you want to be. Don't do what them tossers do. You want to be here, you want to be there. This is it, and it sets you up for that. And we walked back to the car, 15, 20 minutes. Got in the car, sets off driving, and he just went to, you don't want to be crashing here because you live that little concrete post and it'll not do you any good. 1983. So in 1989, when that exactly happened, I went, woo, time for me to get the flock out of here. And so my career in the island started in 83 and finished in 83. I didn't know anything at the time, but
Yeah.
so sad day.
Yeah.
Still remembered by many. So yeah, one of those things.
Have you returned back to the islands?
Oh
since
yeah,
that?
yeah, many court cases, you know.
You're tax dodging heathen.
No, I've been back quite a few times. We ran Jim Moody there in
Right.
96, I think 97 on the Avon 600 for Honda. Johnny Barton rode for me in 96, so we had him on the bike there. But other than that, we've not returned as a team.
Right.
And but you know, there's nothing better than trying to get your body used to that Ockles Ales again, is it? You know?
It's tough stuff, that. It lines you. It takes a week to line you and a week to get out of you. So there you go, proper stuff.
And then the other story with Mez, which is in that last year, which is brilliantly funny. I'd set off on the RC30 set off, full tank of fuel, off we go. Vroom, gets down to Quarter Bridge, round the corner, heading off towards Braddon. Pulls it over to right hand side. Nothing. Blasted thing. Throws it against wall. Turns it off. Throws it against wall. Helmet under shoulder. Packed it. Boozer. Pull. No money, clearly, from Yorkshire. So no money. 1 pint comes, something to eat comes, another pint comes. Just on fourth pint, this kid says, "Hey, I saw you back." He says, "Do you have a full tank of fuel?" "Yeah." He says, "You don't think your pipe's in your breather and it's filled up in your bottle and it's just blocking?" Grabs my helmet, runs, pulls pipe out of the thing, gone.
After 4 pints and a packet of crisps.
After 4 pints and some food.
No wonder he's not allowed back.
But what was funny?
I'll just run a BSB team. I think that's my.
but what was funny, we went through the speed traps and the Highlander and all that lot, got back to the start and finish, gets off the bike, laughing and giggling. And later that day, Charlie Williams got hold of me and Mez got hold of me. "Do you want to come on the stage with Mez? He's just lap record, all this, and Miss Wet T-shirt." And I'm like...
I didn't hear a word of that till the last bit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Miss Wet T-shirt is a fantastic tradition that sadly's gone out of the world. And
was that a charity thing?
Just Thursday night.
No, it was a charity situation that got a lot of people to spend a lot more money on beer than it was normally allowed. And anyway, I still couldn't quite figure out why they wanted me on stage, other than Mez wanted a laugh with me, because every time we got together, we were in trouble. You know, shouts Mez up, "Mez, new lap record, blah, blah, blah. All right, we'd like to introduce you to Brent Gladwin. Come on stage, Brent." Right, and everybody's going, "Who's this dickhead?" And it's like, yeah, and we thought we'd introduce you to Brent because he's Mez's mate, but he's gone better than any rider this week because he's lapped at 46 mile an hour after 4 pints and some crisps." I wonder what the crowd just went ballistic. So he was one of them.
I'll tell you what, that's actually a fair lap speed when you think about how long he must have been in the pub. 4 pints in, a bit of crack.
He was probably 23 mile. You know, it was just something stupid.
Still, to even clock a lap speed at that, like 37 mile, fair play. You must have been hossing over a few pints in here.
Either that, we were necking the pint shop.
There we go. Easy done. So, after you packed that in, so did he continue riding, like, at all? Like, once he finished the Isle of Man?
I rode all the way through till early 90s. And did.
So this was just back on the short circuit scene at this point?
No, still doing daft things. 89 was the last year at the Northwest, because in 90 I got a Ducati. And at that time, you could only have a 750 on the roads. So the Ducati was a bigger engine, 888. So it didn't matter how you talked to them, they weren't having none of it back then. So we didn't go to things like that, but I did the Twins Championship and European Superbike stuff. And again, the roads was always a draw because it was easy to go and at least cover your costs. And if you were reasonably clever, you could, help towards your next race meeting.
Yeah.
And so I finished in about 28 years ago when sadly I hadn't spent enough time at school and didn't realise what Isaac Newton had discovered, and I fell off.
Was it an injury that caused you to?
Yeah, it was a big injury.
Where was that at?
Believe it or not, dicking around up at Darley Moor.
Right.
Yeah,
Just on a track day kind of system.
No, we were Tony Robbo. So Gladwin Robinson was Brent Gladwin and Tony Robinson, and he was my sponsor. And before that, he sponsored a lot of riders. Steve Manship when he won the British Championships, but his favourite track and mine was Darley Moor, and he got this old classic Rob North Triumph, and he said, "Do you want to have a ride on that?" No. But anyway, twisted my arm and I went up there and into the left-hander just through the top chicane. I broke the lap record the lap before, and going into the left-hander, the throttle jammed on and I didn't make the left-hander, went straight in.
What was the, injuries-wise, what was the result?
Well, I couldn't move for a while. So from the neck down, I was, not moving very well. And broke quite a few bits and pieces and shaved a bit of skin off and,
made a bit of a mess of yourself.
Dislodged this left arm quite a lot. I think it was over here and I was over there. But, so that kind of teetered the motorcycling. Got back quite quickly and ended up in Monza on the qualified front row. And the race started and I didn't. So we all went bailing into the first corner and they're all diving up inside you. I went, after you then, boys. So it was clearly finished. We went off, Tony Robbo and myself, and did go-karts. We had a right laugh with that. Formula B go-karts, and then we did a little bit with something with bigger cars. But I didn't get on with the people. Mm-hmm. They come up to you and say, "Who runs you?" And then a guy, Glyn Robinson, rang me and said, "What are you doing with yourself?" "Pottering about, playing with my old bikes." "Do you want to help a young kid go and race it motorbike?" "No." "Why not?" "Well, because I still think I can do it myself. So why should I help somebody?" And then a little bit after he rang me and said, "I've got this FZR 750, they were trying to put a 1000 engine in it. Would I come up, he were at home first, would I come up and help him?" And so I went up to help him build this bike. And there were me and Glyn, who now own sports motorcycles in New Zealand. And there were a young spunker kid there. And we put this bike together. We were laughing and giggling, taking the piss. And this kid had told me his birthday was the same as mine, and this and that, and his name was Pete, and blah, 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 blah. What a fish. Dickhead. Anyway, do you remember I said about helping this kid? I told you I'm not helping it. Well, it's him, Pete Jennings. So that's,
Pete Jennings?
Yeah. So,
all right.
So our first year as a team, we had Pete on the little 600, and I put the team package together for him. So he'd got his own 600 Honda. Some of our friends, Glyn Robinson, we bought a 748 Ducati. I put together Alan from, I think it was iTech, he did mobile phone repair. So I pulled together the package that was the first year of GR Motorsport, and he won the National 600 title.
Pete Jennings has been working for Dave Tyson this year for the Bike Devil team, but in the past he was being crew chief for like Sean Muir and
he was Sykes' crew chief last year, 2019.
World Superbikes, and he's had quite a after riding. He's had quite a career as a crew chief as well, hasn't he?
That's right, yeah, and not only that, builds engines for people. But back in the day when he was riding for Oars, and he rode for me then for the next 3 years. And he was an engineer at Zenica, I think he is, in Dewsbury area. So he's quite a switched-on kid, like.
Mate, before I forget, I must ask you, we've just drove into Sheffield. What's the crack with the trams? Is it the only city in the country there?
that was surreal driving in. Like,
So driving in, and obviously it's slippy because it's wet, and it's like,
Well, it's a trap for you foreigners. That's exactly what it's for, because they.
are you supposed to keep your wheels on the tarmac, like either side of the tracks?
Well, that's what a clever person would do. Yes, Chrissy. I got a bass on you to ride my bike here. What's going on?
he's got four, put 2 wheels. He's your boy. Like, he's your boy. He'll win you any championship. But driving
So
up,
what's the crack when the trams are on the roads as well? Do the trams and the cars on at the same time?
Yeah. Don't crash into them. They're bigger than you. That's the story.
I thought I fell asleep, woke up, and I'm like, Chrissy, we're on a railway line. What are we doing here, son? I'm like,
Because you come into like, it feels like a station as well with the high rise
that's
things.
it,
And
Well, Sheffield was the last city in the UK to get rid of the trams. And when the European money came, we went,
let's get with trams.
we'll have a bit of that. So they pulled the trams back in, but as they were digging the roads up to put the trams back, the old tram tracks were still there.
Save them a fortune, pocket the rest off you. Go. That's it. There we go.
So yeah, it's we've got the trams, and not a bad thing to hop on and off of every few hundred yards for a pub, you know.
That'll be a hell of a pub crawl, especially with you. I bet that'll be absolutely hellish, but there we go.
so as a team manager, obviously you've had 20, this will be your 26th year in the
Yes.
British Championship. I bet you've seen so many riders come and go, teams come and go, and like different changes in terms of the look of the championship, different rules, all of that type of thing. Is there any sort of what are the biggest standout changes for you where, that's changed the face of like how things work or the image of the championship? Or
I think the image changed really for the championship it is today, and we embraced it very quickly. In 96, so it is 25 years ago this coming year, is when the coal board, as it was known, the MCRCB, when they took it over, they started to say to the teams, because it was very, up until that point, it was very Southern $100 more, bring your little vans. And they said, look, we're going to try and package this up, so start coming with some reasonable vehicles and at least make your shirts match. And
did they help finance any of that, or was it just a...
No, it was... There was a good intention of it, that you could see the good intention of it, but obviously behind the scenes people come and go that may have different ideas. And Iggsy's been there, Stuart Higgs has been there right from the word go, and he's kind of always been at the top of it, and some of the things he's done have been a bit different, but generally speaking, you remember sometimes he's hard to deal with, but would you want his job dealing with a square mile of dickheads every weekend?
No, I take
all those, all those egos as flipping. Can you imagine him? Oh, it's that idiot Gladwin again.
Nah, straight away. It's like 100% agree. It's a hell of a ship to command, isn't it? And it'll be it'd be difficult.
So back to what Chrissy asked. That first year saw quite a few of the teams with start. So we actually had a big, massive double-decker bus that we got off Armour Hall, and we were driving along, and downstairs you were driving, and upstairs it was a motorhome, and they were all sat in front doing Cliff Richards. We were all going on a summer holiday.
You could sell that right now. Everyone's into the retro thing. Bring back the double-decker bus. People will be queuing to have a look at that.
Honestly, it was
Euro parts plastered over the side of it. There, imagine it.
It was absolutely brilliant, and it was Party Central as well. And
you're selling everything here. You're selling this. You're selling it.
And it was that was the turning point for the championship, but also it was at the point that motorcycle sales just started to teeter, and so as you look through it, we've had different television companies be involved with the championship. BBC at one time, that was really good, and each time we've had a television company or a different title sponsor for the championship, it kind of changes the platform, and it's those platforms that you've got to try and embrace. If you fight them, then you're just pissing up the wrong tree.
That's it. You've got to move with progression, haven't you?
Exactly. So the lack of prize money is harsh, and I lived on prize money, so I know it's harsh, but also the investment that's gone in, sometimes you have to look at other parts of what the championship is today. So, with all due respect to you, Dom, I know where you race, I know you're good at what you do. Do you want to fall off at 33rd milestone where there's nothing for a period of time? or do you want to fall off at Donington, where those boys have put absolutely everything together? The investment that's gone into that medical centre, for me as a team owner, is stunning. Because I know that if my rider hits the deck, I know he's instantly...
He's got every best chance.
He's got everything. So that investment, you know, that medical team is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So it might not be the prize money there was, but the infrastructure's loads better, and
that's right.
The money's went elsewhere. Is that, in your opinion?
In my glass half full opinion, the money's gone to good things. Mm-hmm. Go on.
But sorry, no. My next question is, like, now that we've seen that investment go into place, and obviously that money is going to take maintenance, isn't it? It's going to go into maintenance, keep that standard at such a high place. But we've talked about it, like, on air and off air all the time. But, you know, the turn of the tide and the fact of, like, you know, the financial gain you're talking about, you know, there was money back in the game for individual riders to go racing. Can you see that in the future? You know, once that money's been put there, will money ever come back? Probably not in our timeline. Well, but do you think it'll come back in the future?
Well, now you're getting me in trouble now.
Good man, this is what it's about.
Right? Yeah, no, but the trouble is, I'm going to get in trouble with people called riders.
But like, would you like to see that happen?
Right, I look at things as Chrissy's learned over the last couple of weeks. I look at things differently to most. So what I look at is, what's the opportunity? It's called, what's the size of the prize, and what part of that prize do we want? So we talk about many of the riders that come on, I'm not going to name names, but many of the riders that come on talk about how hard it is to find money. It is. Mm-hmm. But we as a team, we sell advertising and spunk the money on bikes. That's what we do. That's our platform. And
yes, that's pretty much motorcycle racing, yeah.
But what the riders don't say, so they go, why should top performers not but get paid? Well, why shouldn't top performers be valuable to a sponsor? So therefore, if that performer, whoever he is, sees his own value and looks at, okay, I can win some races, I can talk, I can do a podcast, I can get people revved up, have a laugh, I can get them to follow my... So I've actually got something good. So who wants to buy it? You know, if we put 4 girls at a bar and they're all lovely, and here you go, Dom's eyebrows is lit straight.
I'm in.
He's in.
This is how you sell something. Here we go.
I knew he was in here, Chrissy. So watch this.
Brent, I'm just going to move my pillow over to there.
So here he is.
Talking about bikes, and Dom's starting to go off. So I think, right, we'll bring girls in. Dom's eyes.
Well, yeah. But now we're going to hook you. So we throw the thing in, and we get the hook in, and we say, right. So we turn up with the whole of the Superstock 1000 class. We're all old enough to drink, I hope. They're in the bar. There's 4 girls there and 30 guys, all with egos.
I might as well walk out the door here.
Yeah, but after
have a good night, girls. There's 29 of them for you. There you go. Crack on.
After 26 of the guys have gone up and asked for numerous requests and got turned down, do the other 4 not ask? So therefore, with that mentality of we should ask, then if you approach different companies, so like I'm with Euro Car Parts and we were formerly with WD-40. Well, ECP are a great company for what we're doing with them, but it says car parts, not bike parts. So what have we done to bring them to the party? So what the discerning other team owner or discerning other rider should do is, should they attack our sponsor, which the only way they can do it is to do it cheap than we do it, or do they go, Euro Car Parts are interested in this, let's talk to FPS or Bullet, Bullseye, let's see, and go, hey, have you seen what they're doing? Do you want a portion? So what Higgsy does give you in our platform is an opportunity to sell advertising. And if you're
on a professional level, where it's on TV.
Yeah, but you don't have to be a rock star to do it. Mm-hmm. Because if you're dad and lad, you can get your local chippy or his dad's company, and it's called 100% tax efficient. the invoice for advertising.
There we are. Simple as that.
Now, obviously, running a team in one of a very expensive sport, it's everyone knows how difficult it is to make ends meet, and you'll have some some passionate people that'll put a hell of a lot of time and a hell of a lot of money into something, and to sustain, you see people coming and go all the time. So they'll come in, they'll spend a few, even very wealthy people, but they'll soon realize that how much money goes into it, and it's difficult to sustain that. What would you say the key to bring in such massive brands like the likes of WD-40, Euro Car Parts and stuff? What do you see as how do you do that? What do you put your success down to?
Asking.
Really?
That's it, Chrissy.
Try Ben's getting out.
Yeah. If you don't ask that girl at the bar to dance, she ain't dancing with
you. It's okay asking, but you must be doing something right to sustain it for such a long time and keep sponsors and keep bringing people in. You're obviously providing something. So,
well, again, we keep coming back to it, but so a little Yorkshire saying that everybody understands. Nobody does out for out. So when you look at a sponsor, it's not what you can do for them and, oh, can you help me? It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with
what you can do for them.
Yeah, so you race on the roads. You've got great TV at the Northwest 200, BBC. You can't buy advertising on BBC. You just can't buy it. So then you look at what we have at ITV, Eurosport, Quest, all these things, Stuart Higgs and BSB supply. And if you're good enough to get the front, then you're going to have your sponsors branding there. But then you add to that the size of your van. So everybody says, oh, and you got a little van. Well, people wrap taxis, don't they? Which is only the size of a van. And people wrap double-decker buses, which is the size of a truck. And that's called advertising. And if you look at then, you can be daft because I'm not going to bore you to death with this, but today's average motorcyclist is 50 years old. And his mortgage is going downhill, his family's leaving, so he's got what's called an expendable income. Awesome. He spends it on all sorts of things, and he likes motorbikes. So he needs air gel, he needs tooth cleaner, he needs glasses, he needs house insurance, he needs a car, he needs holidays. So all of these companies, do they want to advertise to somebody who's got the money to spend? Or do they want to advertise to football where the social group emails who, by the time they pay the rent and car, they can't afford a pint of John Smith's? I'm using that. I'm using it as an exaggeration.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, motorcyclists today, when a bike's 20 grand and it's raining for 300 days a year, you've got an expendable income. And the passion of motorbikes is the other thing that drives the advertising. And if you've got a company director that's got a silver Mercedes company car, C220, and he's got an R6 in the garage, that silver Mercedes will never say Petronas on it. It's never going to happen. But his R6 might say Fiat Yamaha, or it might say Monster Yamaha, and it's the same man. And that same man, you'll ask him about the Mercedes, what tyres on it? I don't know, they fit it at garage. What radio's in it? Mercedes. And then you'll say to him, what spark plugs is in your
straight
R6?
on it.
And he's on it. So therefore, we capture the audience. And and then the final bit of it is 54% of attendance at BSB is a family unit. They're not going on a bike. Hence, Euro Car Parts.
There we are. Let's start a race team. Let's start a race team.
Yeah, but
I'm nicking your riding. A sign up for me there.
But the rider and the brand of bike are actually inconsequential in this thing, because the platform is what BSB creates, and the riders move between teams. It's always been the way. The most winning man in MotoGP is Jerry Burgess, isn't it? That's the truth. It's fact.
There we are.
And so it's that situation. And in our paddock, there's some absolute fantastic teams with great images. And those teams come from the little teams all the way up to the bigger teams. And the image, when you go around our paddock with the camera and look round, it's not a bad place to be, is it?
No, it's not.
And meeting you pair of dickheads, it's not. It's a fun place to be as well. So.
I know, that's it. That's it. We don't sell much, but we sell a good time. There you go. That sounds rude. I've got him out to stud.
I think touching on a good point there about sort of you are selling a good time, and for the average person who maybe goes to work 9 till 5 and has things. Motorbike racing is such an exciting, adrenaline-filled sport. There's that sort of hero aspect to it, and there's that thing of like attaching yourself to somebody's success, and then when they succeed, you feel like you're sat at home watching it.
Go and get it.
You might have no invested interest, but like for example, if I put the racing on and I pick number 64 on the grid, and then you follow him through and he wins the race, you almost feel like you've won Saturday, and you're basically selling that to the people at home. And I guess a little bit with this podcast is kind of in between the race, and we can kind of
chip away, have a good bit of crack and talk.
But if you look at your podcast, and not blowing wind up the pair of your arses, but if you look at your podcast from where it started, and everybody went, what's that pair of dicks up to? And then look at some of the...
Still saying that now?
Yeah, I know.
They are.
I didn't want to say that.
I'm waiting for the words to go, you've got no future, lad. Chrissy's going to win a championship for us. There's no future. Just might as well pack the podcast in.
Yeah, but some of the guys that you're bringing on that are so different, I was a little bit disappointed with Larry, if I'm honest, because of all the knowledge and everything he got, and all the where he's been there, done it, and done that with Birdie, and rallied and raced motorbikes and talked the talk and done all that. I thought he might have just been a little bit more gazoom. And but then you did the Jeff thing, and then you've had some of the riders. And what's really fantastic is the fact that you're getting at people that you can't get at. So the people who are looking at your podcast are looking at and listening to people that they can't get to. So you just imagine sat here with Fred Clark. Holy shit, there it is. You don't need to say, just tell us about racing for the last 60 years. And we'll keep the generator going for the next 6 weeks.
That's the thing. But you see, like, that's for me. I grew up in the paddock. My dad, and like all I've ever known is the paddock world. And for me, it's that family feeling. The track. How long's a race in Stockhausen? What's your longest race? 25 minutes. Yeah. So essentially, one race a weekend. That's your 25 minutes. It's the rest of the world that everyone wants to be involved in. Yeah. Isn't it? Not many people just click on the telly and just watch 25 minutes and switch it off, do they? They want to know what the crack is, the story. It's an entertainment sport, and like what Jeff Cross said, it's all about, it's a game, isn't it? That was his words, and it's about. I love this world, and that's what it's about. Putting teams together, crappy podcasts, a couple of Geordie Bellends. It's what it's about. But
and as Jeff said to you, just talking over you a sec there, as Jeff said to you, it is a game, and if you want to win the game, you learn how to play the game. So I have to learn how to play the game in sponsorship marketing. The riders have to learn this. And, there's quite a lot of this bit where the riders are saying, we shouldn't take money to the team. But the truth is, if a team says, bring 20 grand to team, and what do I get for me 20 grand should be your answer. Question, sorry. Not, it's too much money. And then you go, Then you go to a sponsor and sell it for 200 grand. You've just made yourself 180 grand profit. And what we're talking about here is the opportunity that BSB give you to do that. Now, you might not get 180, you might get 16, so you've got to find 3. But the opportunities are there. It's how you look after that opportunity.
And it's a skill in itself, selling pictures like that. Because me personally, it is, though, isn't it? It's a huge skill, lad. It's being able to talk like. Because me, I just can't. Brain would have a full-on fart.
You really never would. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, what you're on about?
But selling something and talking like this is crack, isn't it? Yeah, this is open crack. But what you're doing, it's a very hard skill. It's a very hard skill.
It's not dumb. If you get in front of people, all they want to see is your passion. And in the same way you're talking to me and anybody else, it's just the same. It's the same thing. As soon as you confuse it, it's gone. Mm-hmm. As soon as you think, I'm going to see Mr. Starbucks. Mr. Starbucks wants to laugh and shit and fart just as much as you do. And that's the truth. You know,
It's great when you stumble across a bike racing person because you can have this like dull expression on your face, and then you just mention something to do with bikes, and you can see a eye light up.
Yeah.
And I think we're lucky in that respect, more so than, for instance, you know, like say if you were racing cars, everyone has a car on the road, so you might think people are more interested in car racing because everyone's got a car. But for me, I think the people that have bikes really are into bikes, and they're like know everything about bikes, and they want to watch racing, and it's much more of a niche thing.
It's a niche market.
But the people that are into bike racing are much more likely to be into racing, and I think we're sort of lucky in that respect because, you know, for example, if you like years ago when I used to like labour in the 6 weeks holidays, if you ever went to someone's garage and you kind of talking to the punter and they're not really interested and blah blah blah, you go in the garage and they have like an old bike and you just ask them a question about it, they light up straight away and they want to talk about it. And it'd be the same for you. Someone comes in your garage and says, "What's that?" You could be on for half an hour explaining the ins and outs of it, and because it's passion, and that's kind of what we. I hope that people who watch the podcast and listen to it can see the passion when we're talking about things, and from the guests, and hopefully it's it's entertaining.
The other side of that passion, of course, is if you go to a company like, you know, your new title sponsors, Stouff UK, those guys are in Sheffield, and there's not a biker there. They're not. There's John Morris. He's a Grande Kappa there, and he loves it. But he loves the competition levels. But what they realise is a lot of their customers love the bikes. So if you can turn it that way as well, finding the man who's interested is brilliant because it helps you. But there's other angles to it all that make it how we, the paddock, bring the money for us to do this expensive sport. But the adulation that we get on the side of that, you know, you crackpot circling around Isle of Man and you know, us lot zooming around Donington Park. Crackpots, I am in your team, don't worry. Is all that people love to watch. Now, the other thing, back in the day, they all wanted to watch it for a crash. And now it's not like that anymore. You know, they were all standing where they thought people had crashed. And you never see that anymore now. You know, the first thing that people are saying is he okay? Not, you know.
Get it in his eyesight.
And what the hell's, what he looks like Michelin man, you know, what's happened there? You know, and they want to know these things.
Yes.
And, you know, it's so.
Just a few quick questions. What, out of all of the years that you've been a team manager, what's been, if you could relive one year, which one would you pick?
We've had some really special years, and sometimes things unfold in front of you that you just have to grab the shirt tails and go. Because as much as you want to put the brakes on it and think. So, Carl, stunning.
Just Carl Harris.
Carl Bomber Harris.
Just unbelievable year from day one when he knocked on my door and I opened the door and went, fuck off. And that year was just right from the get-go. But we had some heartbreak in it as well, you know, where we wanted to kill him. And I left him in Italy. I drove off and left him. No passport, took his passport off him. He got home before me, the little bastard. So that was a brilliant year. Winning the first ever European Superstock Championship. Being attacked by every nation because we were the Brit team. And then being helped by the Germans who bombed our chip shop. You know, that were brilliant. But the Italians, they stripped us every week. When we were in Assen, when Carl did the first stand-up wheelie, we got a week. So we left Assen on the Sunday and drove straight to Hockenheim. The Italians stripped us. And I mean stripped us. And to the nuts. Well, it wasn't like it is now. We were in a small van.
Aye.
And Joe Proctor, the Yank, put it all back together in Parc Ferme and just went like that and pulled the old trigger and off she went. And we went to, and we were fighting with Daniel Oliver Bulto, who was the grandson of Bultaco. And so that was an awesome year.
Was that around 2000?
1999.
99.
Then we went to the World Supersport the year after with him, with Metal Systems, and he was teammate to Cristiano Migliorati. And then the Tommy Aquino year, unbelievable. just didn't make sense. Because as Jeff told you, I really wanted to kill that kid. Because it was just...
He was living here, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was living here, but he did what everybody did. So when he left America, he'd done super well on an R6, and he came here. He went to Europe and did a more too, and then when he came here to ride the ZX10. He did everything possible to turn that ZX10 into an R6. Never gonna happen. No matter how many times you riders try and do it, it ain't happening, because the designers in Japan never wanted you to. But once he twigged it, and once we twigged each other, and I took him downtown on Friday night. That's why they all laugh and giggle. Witty goes on about it. I took him downtown on Friday night, got him smashed, and we sorted it out. And Jeff, we dragged Jeff more involved, and Wayne was involved. But once that kid had suddenly realised that it wasn't the Yank against England, it was the Yank who could control England. That's the wrong way of putting it. But because of his background, he knew at Cadwell Park, when he did what he did, which is still special today, he got the BSB fans loving it. He ran across the track and jumped into the middle of them. He ran across the track and jumped into the middle of them. And it was what he was doing with the bike at tracks that he shouldn't have been doing it at. The Brands Hatch when he made the breakthrough. Then at Cadwell Park when he did what he did. And Jeff's told you about the track day, where he went, and he was, by mid-morning, he was in low 30s, like 30.8 or something. And we asked, get him home, and Jeff's going, oh, I'll just let him stay a bit. And at Alton Park, when he chased down, he was in Adam Jenkinson and Tristan Palmer, and they were chasing him, and it came to the last lap, and it was all set up as they came over Clay Hill, and they went into Druids, and you can, if you can be bothered, go and watch the thing as it goes in. The front folds, and you can hear on the TV the front end went across the tarmac. Anybody else? Hospital? No, not him. Gets it open and finished third, and just off it. And it was the nonsense of his riding added to the lovely kid that he was, and the way that the crowd were liking him, that we made the decision, tell you what, let's get a superbike. And it was that moment. It wasn't another moment, it was that moment. And so it's difficult, because we've worked with some hideous riders, and we've worked with some just lovely kids who could have and didn't, and we've worked with some who you think this ain't going to work, and they just go boom. And so just the memories of the seasons, and some of the memories are nothing to do with racing. Like we might have turned up somewhere and bumped into somebody, me going shooting up in Alnwick Castle with the gamekeepers up there, and just bumping into different people, all because of motorbike.
Through the racing, yeah.
Just fantastic.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Is your son Ash coming next year? Is he still working on the team?
Well, what was funny, Chris, is I rang him on. I said, well, we've got Chrissy Rouse. He said, here's me P45.
True story. Anyway, let's move on.
No, Ash is still there. Yeah. So
your daughter signed up for Grid Girling?
Yeah, what my daughter signed up for is handing out arsenic to anybody I tell her to. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to just turn this on you two now, just for the crack.
Oh, this is going to be a good challenge.
Just because you've tortured me. So when I raced, Dom, this is at you. When I raced, one of my memories was with Dennis Winterburn and Ray Hutchinson, and we ran down an alley not so far from a racetrack to go into a nightclub. And the people where we were going into this nightclub thought we were a gang who were trying to rob it. So they came out with some scaffolding poles that if they had gone wrong, there'd have been fire coming at the end. And we ran off having a laugh. What in road racing has done the same thing to you? Made you shit your pants.
What, in road racing?
Yeah.
What, a moment on the bike or around it?
And what you do, which is your sport.
Oh, God.
That must be a moment.
What, a moment when you've just proper cacked your pants?
Yeah, which could have been you've just walked out of the pub and PC Squeaky Boots feels your collar because of something you didn't do right, or there'll have been something somewhere. Somebody might have got a cup, filled it with acetylene, and put it on top of your spark plug so that when you turned the engine off, it blew up.
I've had that many bloody moments, like just daft moments. I could write a bloody book. Well, not really a book, but it'd be a short novel.
Did you watch the Netflix thing, the Religion of Sport thing?
Yes.
So because Dom ended up in a helicopter that year, that must have been a close moment for you.
Oh God, I've
Hang on. Let me get this right. You threw yourself off a motorbike just for an helicopter ride.
Oh God, it's amazing what us North East lads do. You know what I mean? They'll go, Dominic, you'll never amount to anything. I said, one day I'll be in a helicopter. Shut up, Dominic. Whatever. I'm like that. Like, boom, have some of that Barry from you, right? Belland. But no, I've had that many moments. Just. Proper khaki moments. The thing is, I'm one of those positions, like many other riders, especially in road racing, is like that family closeness. And like when we're talking about khaki moments, it's not really particularly a funny one, but like me dad, like I've come through accident, like I've seen me dad's bike on the side of a road, and like in a million bits, and the only thing you can recognise is his race number, and you think you've just been in a red flag situation, and you're on the other side of the hill, and you're thinking, do I want to go home? And you think, and you get there, and I'll never forget this. So anyway, I'm riding on John Chapman's 250, never in a 250 before. Off on, I'm going over, nah, it'd be all right. Bit more, let's get back, passing people, then just shutting the throttle, just going into a soft focus, going, no, don't go back, don't. And then I remember going up the pit lane, and I could see my mother straight down. I'm not even exaggerating, it must have been 700 yards on the return road, and I could see her. And at that point, I knew he was alive, because you could just read your mother. This is a woman who's dished out discipline for me for years. I can read her like a book. So anyway, thinking my mum, my dad's all right. So anyway, I get it. I'm still on my racing gear. Go straight down with my mum, and so the nurse comes out and says, "All right, your husband's awake. You want to go in?" So I said, I'll go in with you, ma'am. So anyway, my dad's lying there, right, totally strapped up to the nines, neck brace on. And I remember this dirtiest look I've ever seen in a man's eyes ever. He just looked at me, man, went, "Who the fuck are you?" Like in his eyes, thinking, "Who are you?" And my mum's looking. I'm going, "Oh, it's me here." My dad's looking at her, going, "I have a wife. Leave me alone, woman." And so like looking totally gay, like totally mind blown out of his head. And then I just peeled my head over the top, and he could recognise the levers, and straight away he just went, "How did you get on?" And I just remember thinking, only in racing can you have these khaki pants moments. You think you've lost your dad 1 second, then the second minute you're having a chat with him on a spine board going, yeah, the 2-stroke's grand, just needs a couple of turns off the jet needle. And you just think that racing just delivers that many bloody moments. And, from one extreme to another, like you're getting dragged to house parties in the Isle of Man, you're going up there, you wake up in Dublin when you should have been in Belfast. And, you know what I mean? Oh, God, I'll end up thinking of something on the way home.
I wasn't sure, actually, looking at state of your hand, if you hold your hand up.
Oh, God,
I wasn't sure whether you were picking your nose and just ended up in a gay club and went, "Whoa, what's that?" and snapped the whole finger off.
Well, it's amazing what happens in that. I lost that in Ireland, bike racing. Well, I'm a tree surgeon by trade, and everyone thinks I'll cut it off with a chainsaw, but no, that's the fun of racing. Broke that hand, and a week later, I'm in Macau racing the Grand Prix. So.
People will be wondering on the YouTube video as well, the black ring. It's not a fashion statement. That's there to separate.
Ian Robinson, he's a genius of a man. He's literally got people out of wheelchairs and walked again. And when I lost that finger, I broke every bone in that hand. And that thing there, because I can't shut my hand properly, and that spaces off and straightens it out, and simple little things like that. So we started off with O-rings and wraps and all sorts. So yeah, I'm far from fashionable, as you know, Chrissy, but there you go.
So then for you, Chrissy, you broke your wrist at Cadwell riding for Halsell.
Yeah.
And it was quite a bad do.
Yeah.
But then, if you look at other achievements that you've done, and not many people on here will know your mathematics and teaching and all that stuff.
Oh, they all know he's got no crack and he's a math teacher.
Yeah. I've seen where he dresses when he goes to school. Anybody else would get arrested by fashion police, wouldn't they? obviously when you break your wrist, when you've been given that opportunity, it's a right downer. But for me, where is the bit? So where I asked Dom, what's the downside? Where is the bit that you suddenly see for you that the tunnel's closed and now it's open? What's your best memory of that, where you thought it was all over and then you're going to go?
Do you know, we were just talking about this on the way down. Funny enough, after I finished school and I finished all my exams, and I took a gap year before I went to uni, and I really put everything into. I thought myself, got to the end of school, I've not really made it in racing yet. In fact, it was costing my parents a hell of a lot of money and putting a lot of strain on the family. But I was still doing quite, like, I'd won a championship, and I still had the sort of dream of doing something with racing, and I kind of felt like I'd put my all into Superstock 600. I was riding for, can you remember the Haribo Starlets team? And I sort of approached that year with, I'm going to either win the championship and get, like, move on and, you know, do something with the racing, or it's not going to work out and I'll have to do something else, type of thing. And after that season, it was a really poor season. The year before, I'd done one wild card in Superstock 600 and got a podium. So my podium rate was 100%. And then I did a full year and didn't get one podium. And for me, that was just a disaster. It was the year Tara McKenzie was riding for you in Stock 600. And I was like really riding the wheels off it for like sort of 5th, 6th, 7th. And every weekend it was just, as you know, you don't go racing to finish 6th and 7th. And although, you know, I was with lovely people, and, you know, it's you know, nice to spend quality time with great people. For me, it was killing us inside that.
You were there to do a job.
Yeah, my results weren't there. And it got to the end of that season, and I felt like my parents had put so much into the race, and I felt like I've had the opportunity, and it just hasn't really worked out. And I'd kind of came to that realization, and although I didn't want to admit it to myself, I thought, right, that's me done, type of thing. And I didn't really make plans to race the next year. It was just after, was it just before I started university? I think I got a job working at Nando's part-time. It was when Tinder first came out, so I was going on dates like every week.
There was only four other people on it.
And I was just sort of,
we could have gone wrong with that.
And I just put the race into the back of my mind, and
there's 4 girls on Tinder.
And I would say that's the worst part of my racing career so far. And then it was actually do you know Russ Owen?
Yeah.
Racing. So in about March time, the phone went and said, and it wasn't actually. It was somebody that worked for the team, but they spoke to us and they didn't seem to really like know much about the racing and like much about the bike and stuff. But basically said, we've got this BMW, we've got the truck. Like, do you want to come and race? Like, you'll have to put tires and fuel on it. And I thought to myself, well, I've got this personal sponsor and this personal sponsor, and I can kind of, I don't really have to rely on my parents to finance this. So like, why not? Let's have a bash at it. So I sort of contacted all my personal sponsors, and it ended up being one of the best years racing I've ever had. Went just the very first, so we didn't do any pre-season testing. I'd never rode 1,000 before, and we did a test, like a damp day down at Snetterton on the way to the first round. The bike, we didn't know anything about the bike. We didn't know, like, literally, we had nobody. I didn't have a crew chief, so Neil Pearson was working for can you remember the No Limits team, Russell Racing? So Neil Pearson was Adam Jenkinson's crew chief, and when he was finished at about 11 o'clock, he would come over just to make sure like the bike was okay. It was like proper, you know, the team didn't really have any experience. We didn't know anything about the bike. And my very first qualifying session was wet, and I came in and I didn't even have a pit board. I came in and I was 4th. And it was like the first, and I was thinking I could be. We ended up having a dry qualifying after that. Sorry, and I was further down the field. But my first sort of proper session, I was like 4th place, and there was like Michael, Ian Hutchinson, and me type of thing. And I was thinking, this is brilliant. And so from really low expectations, and it was we used to get to the racetrack on, say, a Wednesday. Me and Russ would wash the truck, put the flooring out, and then we would go down into like the local town.
Hang on, Dom. I'll interrupt you. First time I met him, do you remember I met you at first time?
I can't remember. Was it
You
in
were,
a nightclub?
you were playing pool with Russ in a boozer down the back of Donington.
Yeah, and we used to literally do that all the time. Just look for the closest pub with a pool table, or when they used to go nightclubbing, and we just had such a great year. And the results were brilliant for what we had. Bear in mind, it was just like we didn't really have a clue what to do. The bike had electronic suspension on when we first got it, and then I bought some third-hand. It was Batubo suspension. I paid, I think it was something like 1,200 quid for internals and a rear shock, and I used that for the 2 years I did stock 1,000, and we ended up getting like podiums and all kinds with it. And it really was just like a bunch of mates. We ended up we got some work doing some track days over in Portugal, and we ended up like going out and like there was the hotel. It was so funny because Russ just booked this like real cheap hotel out of the way, so all of the people doing the track days were staying at this like posh hotel on the front, and we booked this little like crappy little hotel in the middle of the town
Next to the brothel.
And when we got there,
Was the brothel one?
when we got there, it was literally like do you know sometimes when life just gives you little gems? We walked in. And there was nobody in this hotel, and the two bar ladies were just like supermodels. And honestly, and we ended up, after they finished work, we ended up taking them down into town. And honestly, it was just I actually had my 21st birthday out there. Where, do you know Lagos?
Amazing what you get for your 21st birthday.
Yeah, and it was literally... So yeah, to answer your question, it went from, it was really like a bad time in my race and thinking that it was all over, and then we ended up really rejuvenating my career. And even that year we were kind of knocking on the door for podiums, but by the time that we got to the second year staying with Mission, I was regularly on the podium. It was kind of the main championship protagonists were Danny Buchan and Richard Cooper, but often it was us, so I was like in the mix with them and regularly on the podium. And that sort of set us off, and ever since then it's been we've had some great years and some great times. But it's funny I always say this to Dom as well. You can never join the dots up forward, so you don't know like which routes are going to take. But looking back, you can always say this happened and this happened. We're talking to Danny Webb earlier today, and Danny was saying he only actually started road racing because of foot and mouth. He was doing motocross before then, and then there was no motocross, so he sort of got forced into road racing, and he ended up having a Grand Prix career, and so it's crazy going back, and it'll be the same for you as well, just like little weird things that happened and then it developed in all kinds of
trying to avoid mistakes. He's making another by signing you.
It's like you said, dark moments. In March the 11th 2016 we had the bike stolen, and 3 weeks later we got nothing. And 3 weeks later Taron went on the podium. And then we won the championship, and so we all know that, but having said that, my surname is Gladwin, not Sadlows. So
I like that. But like I say, this is a very philosophical podcast. It's turned into, isn't it? So, but you can't have the good times without going through the shit times, and that is motorcycle racing to the T, isn't it? So, but I think we should round this interview off. But a really complicated. Hold on. We've got 20 minutes, mate.
Whoa! Hang on a minute. Wait a minute.
I don't want any more serious questions.
No. This is a serious question.
Oh God!
What are you pair of twats doing here in Sheffield anyway?
Is it the tier 3?
We're working.
No.
We are working. This is working.
No, this ain't working. This is.
We can edit anything.
Because I don't care what you want to edit. This is the truth of why you're here. Because I've lost the plot, and I've signed Chrissy Rouse to ride my bike for next year, and we're going into Christmas going, yes, let's go and dance. And he said about me son, Ashley, and our little team. And the truth is, we've got a lunatic on a superbike, an even bigger lunatic, because he should know better on a Superstock bike. We've got a great team, and we're looking forward to 2021. And that's how we're going to wrap it up for you.
Yeah, brilliant.
There we go. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You couldn't have done a better job. There you go.
Huge thank you to our sponsors, Colchester Kawasaki, to all of our patrons. I tell you what, just before we wrap things up, I had a lovely message from, do you know what? We've got like a community online of all bike racing people and stuff. And I had a lovely message which I wanted to read out from a guy called Dean Webster. And it was from the USA. And he just said, Hello lads, I just discovered the podcast. What can I say? I'm slow. Just wanted to let you know that Geordies are all over the world spreading the gospel of brown ale, peas pudding and the tune. We also display our motorbike prowess, the purple helmets, ultra lightweight endurance team just wrapped up a third championship in 4 years with the CMRA in Texas. The team includes two Geordies, myself and Steve Wilson. It'd be great to get a shout out on the podcast.
Sponsored by Euro Car Parts. There you go. Fair play.
So I just wanted to give them a little shout out, and and I think that wraps up. Really excited for the year ahead. Yeah, we've got 11 rounds all starting. It's May the championship starts, isn't it? A little bit of a delayed start, but obviously we'll get delivery of the new bike. So hopefully by the time this podcast,
I was about to say we're talking, and it's a bit weird, this, isn't it? So hopefully, hopefully this announcement isn't as it's a lot more exciting than what it's on right now.
So if you are watching this on Christmas Day or around Christmas, I hope to the people at home, I hope you're all having a lovely Christmas and a happy New Year. And here's to a successful 2021 season.
There you go.
Thanks
Thank
so
you very much.
Take care, mate.
Remember your Christmas jumpers, everybody.
Take care. Cheers, man.
Click, buy, deliver with the two-time Motorcycle News Dealer of the Year, Colchester, Kawasaki. Proud sponsors of Chersin, the Racing.